So the idea is a parody is supposed to parody the main source. The main source is not supposed to parody the parody. And you kind of get that in Spectre, as we have Blofeld, however you say his name, returns after, 40 years or so from his last film where he gets dropped into a big old smokestack. Lo and behold, he comes back for Spectre and parodying, I guess you could say, or maybe copying from Austin Powers. He turns out he's like his stepbrother of our good old boy James Bond. That's one of the problems I have with this movie. It was definitely not my favorite Bond movie. Maybe my least favorite of the Daniel Craig movies is Spectre. Does have some pretty cool chasing scenes, though, I will say that much. But otherwise, I didn't really enjoy this one. So let's get into this. But it did have a strong beginning. We do have a callback to Live or Let Die when it starts in Mexico City. We kind of have the guy with like the skull mask thing going on there, just like in Live or Let Die. Ralph Fiennes is now the new M in this movie, and I do like him a lot better than Judi Dench. Nothing against Miss Dench here, but I just didn't really get into her M very much. Especially with the Daniel Craig movies. And then they kind of made her like mythical, like she's kind of like a mother figure to James Bond in these Daniel Craig movies. I don't know. I guess if you're going to say that Daniel Craig is a different James Bond, then I'm all aboard, but I just didn't really get into it. And, with how going to the next movie here, jumping way ahead, and how the franchise ended, I guess. It didn't really end, but how the last Daniel Craig movie ended, it looks like we might be moving into a different James Bond for each one. Like Sean Connery was a James Bond, maybe Roger Moore was a different James Bond. I might be getting to that lore, or maybe once they start the next James Bond movies, that will be a different James Bond than the previous 26 movies. Who knows? It'll be interesting how we go into this. But enough about talking about the next one. Let's get back into good old Spectre. Like I said, we got a callback. This time, though, James Bond is following the trail of the organization responsible for the previous M's death, for Judi Dench's death. The story leans heavily into what most people considered, like I said, an Austin Powers level twist. Turns out good old Blofeld, he's responsible for all of James Bond's suffering throughout his life. He's out there killing his women. I mean, we do know he killed his first wife, but like I said, this is why these movies, once we get to the Craig, especially up to this point, these movies don't really make too much sense when you think about it timeline-wise. But we know for a fact that Blofeld was responsible for the first wife's death. It was pretty sad. You watched that movie, man. It does tug at your heart a little bit. But, he's also responsible for Ava's death. And hopefully I said her name right. And Casino Royale. And any other tragic death that's happened in James Bond's life. We can blame it on old boy there. And in fact, it just kind of have this feeling that something fell on my foot, water bottle. Anyways, feeling that Big Brother is watching you. You kind of get this feeling in Spectre. In this case, literally, Big Brother is watching James Bond go about. We do get some pretty interesting characters. You got Dave Bautista showing up as Mr. Hinks, and I was not too impressed with Bautista. I don't really like Bautista as an actor. I don't know. A lot of people like him. I guess he was great for Drax because maybe he is a Drax type of person. But I don't watch the movie because Dave Bautista is in it. And I get to the point where I might avoid movies that he's in it. In this movie, he doesn't have very much dialogue. And to me, that was fantastic. The least dialogue that Bautista has, the better he is in a movie. And basically, in this movie, he's kind of like the modern Jaws. He's indestructible. He's imposing, and Bond has to kind of take him out with unusual conventions, methods. Blofeld, they got his character pretty good here. He's supposed to be brilliant and always a step ahead of Bond, which makes you wonder, if he knows Bond so well, why doesn't he anticipate the gadget watch? I mean, he has him trapped, right? And then he doesn't take off his watch. That's how he escapes like 99% of his time. He uses his watch. And then that whole trap, of course, again, it's kind of like a parody of the Austin Powers movies where, just that gag where, you're just going to leave him there, where it's kind of easy for him to escape. And, Dr. Evil's like, wow, what's wrong with that? You kind of get that same feeling in this movie with this one. And then like that trap thing, that little chair gadget he's in. I'm not really sure what the purpose of it was because it didn't seem to really affect James Bond at all. Just maybe gave him a little bit of a pain. It's kind of almost like they forgot what that chair was used for. Overall, this is definitely my lower tier of a Bond movie. Maybe I'm wrong about it. Do you guys think Spectre is a good movie? For me, it just kind of missed the mark. I really feel like this is probably the low end of the Daniel Craig's movies. I do enjoyed a lot of his movies like Casino Royale and Skyfall. I thought were like one of the best Bond movies, one of those top tier Bond movies. I like Daniel Craig as James Bond. Kind of like Pierce Brosnan a little better, but Craig really does bring the intensity. In this movie, he kind of goes to 10 and ups it 1 to 11. But I don't know. Overall, I just didn't really enjoy this one. I probably won't really ever rewatch it unless I'm just kind of wondering and forgetting what it's about and want to kind of refresh my memory about what Spectre is about. But hey, do you guys like Spectre? Do you think this is Craig's best one, worst one? Where do you fit it in there? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Have a great day. Until next time, adios.